Sophia and Florida, they're in Illinois.
Luann
Like
and
a third of the size. So they could have-
Side.
Some problem that we're.
Are we?
It's as big as we are good to go. Get started. Yes.
May I have your attention, please? I would like to call to order Village of Roscoe Board Meeting, Tuesday, August 15th. Let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right,
Here.
Simon,
Here.
Calico,
Here.
Clark,
Here.
Teddy, here, Babcock, absent or online? Yes. Absent? Absent. Okay, thank you. And Gustafson. Present, thank you. Public comment, if there's anyone wishing to address the board, please stand and give us your name.
Hi, I'm Jeanette Ronke, and I'm here to bring to your attention and put before the board discussion possibly on some road repair on our road. The neighbors and I have been disturbed by it for quite a while. Unfortunately, it is Sprague Road, which turns into Little Road. So I realize Roscoe's in charge of Sprague and Rockton is in charge of Little. So it doesn't seem like anyone comes to see what needs to be done. It is dangerous going west on Roscoe Road to turn onto Sprague Road. There is absolutely no turn lane there. It's totally destroyed. Most of the road is destroyed. Two cars can barely pass in some areas of Sprague Road because it's so worn on the shoulders of the road just from use. And one of the neighbors has spoke to Troy, I believe it was, in the Public Works Department. I don't know who he is. I don't know his last name either, but he has said that you would look into it, but my neighbor didn't really think that was going to happen. So I said, well, I'm going to go tonight and bring it up before the board. It's dangerous. People walk on that road a lot. There's only 2 residential houses off of a Sprague Road that are Roscoe residents. So I realize that's why it's not a big high priority, but we do pay our taxes as well. And Little Road, I'm going to go to their board meeting too and bring it up to them. The thing is, when school starts, Hawks Point across the way, it is a thoroughfare for all the families to go through to the middle school on Old River Road and Hananiga. And it is a very busy road in the morning and the afternoon. And on weekends, the kids party there. And I pretty much every other week go and pick up a lot of beer cans along that road. Telling you that. Because they leave them on the side of the road. There's skid marks. It's not a road that isn't used. And I think that's how it might be seen by the residents of Roscoe, because it is through cornfields, but it's a road that we live on, and it's a road that's dangerous, as I said, to turn off of. People are coming very fast behind you. It's like 50 to 55 miles an hour there, and you have to really slow down to make the turn or go off into the gravel. So that's my point. I'd like to bring that up for you to at least discuss or bring up. Yes.
Oh, I was asking for her to call on me. I'm sorry.
Please.
I just want to, we're very aware of the road.
Okay.
I do want to point out though, and I'm not saying this is not a,
Identify yourself. To her.
I'm Scott Sanders.
Okay, thank you.
But it is not it is not a Village of Roscoe road.
Oh,
So that, just to confirm, I'm just pulling up this, what I'm sharing on the screen right now. This road is under the jurisdiction of initially Rockton Township. And then when you get a little farther north, and it's always been a tricky little piece of road, right? I acknowledge. And you get a little farther north, and then it is under this jurisdiction of the Village of Rockton itself. So between Rockton Township and the Village of Rockton, and that's even still when it's Sprague. And then when it becomes Little up here, it is the jurisdiction of maybe it becomes a. No, it's still Village of Rockton. Yeah, so we'll,
Scott.
yeah.
So I do want to point out that may be incorrect.
Okay.
So we need to look into it, but I know Troy in the Public Works Department does do snow plowing on that roadway. And I do know that it is in our inventory of roads that I have record of. But the fact that Winch's records don't reflect that, maybe that was something where the village took it over without formally accepting that or formally receiving a jurisdictional transfer. So I think we should definitely look into that. I know that we have operated under the assumption that it is our road, at least for maintenance
Up
purposes.
to what limit?
I think is it the bridge?
To the box culvert?
Bridge.
So again, I don't know if that was just some sort of handshake agreement that was done in the past and it just carried its way through, but we might, that might be our road.
You might have identified a interesting little
Well, I called the Winnebago County
puzzle here.
first.
Uh-huh.
They informed me that that section was Roscoe and Little
Okay.
was Rockton. So that's how I found that out, because I got a voicemail from the man
Yeah,
at the sheriff's department or the county. And he said I needed to take it up with,
Sure.
or we needed.
So if you look here too, even further, just so you see how these puzzle pieces fit together, because none of our municipal boundaries are all that logical.
Yeah, especially.
And so as Sprague Road heads north from Roscoe, you see first in this sort of pinkish tone where magenta is, that's unincorporated Winnebago County. And then once you get up right at about this box culvert where the creek passes under, to the east is the village of Roscoe, to the west is the village of Rockton. So a first step would be to have a clear understanding of all parties as to whose jurisdiction it is. If we're doing snow removal, we're acknowledging obviously some jurisdiction over, but wind just might be incorrect. Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Someone,
Thank you for
Okay.
bringing it to our attention. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Is there anyone remotely who is asking? Scott? Not that you see? Okay.
Oh, yeah, no hands are up. Sorry, President Gustafson.
Oh, okay. Joe is remote tonight.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
he's still hosting.
Thank you. Under President's report, do we have our information by Clark Environmental?
Jack, are you on? See a phone number on there.
He was on earlier. I don't see him on right now.
He's not perhaps we can circle back.
Sounds good. Let's move on then to the treasurer's report, cash report and bills. For new people on the board, you may not have met Mr. Olson. Mark Olson is our treasurer. Not Steve Swan. Mark Olson. And you have within your documents the cash report, if you want to bring it up.
Okay. You want me to read off the statement?
Why don't you do that?
You can do the year. Sure, go to the presentation. I'll just let you know, for bill tonight, we have total expenditures per list of $96,984.26. We have total payroll expenses, including payroll tax and IMRF, of $95,381.83, for total general fund expenditures $192,366.09. This leaves a general fund balance after expenditures of $9,909,044.59. We have no for fuel expenditures this evening, and we have a balance in the MFT fund of $1,382,631.49.
Any questions? All right, moving then to the bills. May I have a motion to approve payment of the bills?
So moved. that the 26? I had a question on the 26,000.
Well, after the second.
Second,
Okay. Now your question.
Question on the 26,000. Border Park,
The first payment.
are we paying that ahead of work?
We're waiting.
It is, it was the bill for materials for the logs.
They're buying,
Correct. They were ordered to their custom size cut and everything, so that was payment for the logs that we understand will be arriving on site. Equipment arrives,
tomorrow, and then hopefully they're there Thursday.
that's it.
But the check's not in the mail.
No,
are we gonna hold out the checks until we see the ones?
Yes.
And we never did get references from this company on it. Am I understanding that? I'm asking after we've already approved it, but have we?
I don't know.
I asked you when we voted on it. We never got any references or checked on any references.
I did not, no.
Okay,
So we are awaiting his arrival.
yep, I talked with him yesterday. He's in Harvard right now, and tomorrow he'll be bringing down one of his trailers and probably a lift. And then bringing the, I don't know if it's in 50-pound bags or something, but the corn blast for the logs. Then Thursday he'll be arriving to start.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding any of the other bills?
I had one other one, excuse me. No, I didn't have it turned to the right page here. I noticed that we paid 2 months for computer service. That's all. It's a 2 months charge.
To whom?
Like computer services, you mean Premier Technology?
Yes. I thought it was, but now I can't find it. So
I think she's talking about Montel, but I'm not sure.
yeah, all right, Montel.
Those would be two different, those are as needed visits to fix either access control matters or they were here today doing some AV stuff.
One was for the front door.
Yeah.
See.
Oh, the front door's not working, that's right.
Right.
When you think of Montel, they're as needed. That's not a recurring bill. That's not a regular relationship. They're who we call to fix something if something's broken.
there is
Thank
a Premier on here too.
Yes, so that's IT versus what Montel is the licensed vendor for our S2 access system. So all the doors, they are licensed to work on those. They have a proprietary relationship with S2. So that's who we have been using for a couple of years now to come out and address access control issues. They had to replace something on a front door.
Any others, Sue? So we have a motion and a second to pay the bills. Please call.
Petty, yes.
Block,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Sima.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
You. Right, item 6.3, year-to-date revenues and expenditures. You have within your documents, a statement or several pages showing 7 months ending July 31st, 2023. And Mr. Olson is going to give you a broad overview.
Yes. Okay, so this, we're at about 58% of the year. Our budgeted revenues for the general fund were about 5,892,000. We're at 3,855,56, was about 65%. Couple items of note there, obviously interest income, we budgeted 80,000, but with the prime rate at like 5.2, we're at 242 or about 250,000. That'll continue to go up. Some of the revenues are, as of now, are in good place, but obviously Illinois has issues sometimes, but I think right now revenues are in a good position. And then on the expenditures. Obviously, there are some timing issues with some of these things. We have a budget of 3,069,000 for the general fund. We're at about 1,000,005. We're about 49%. Which is there. Code enforcement, we're at about 63%. We go to the police department. Our expenditures are about 32%. Really meaning we haven't spent on building equipment, things like that. That's really why. Our budget for building equipment is about 212, equipment was 246, equipment purchases was 255. Those things we just haven't spent yet. So that's just a lot of that's timing.
If you don't mind, Mark, two things that I'll point out, we've talked about these a couple times, is one, that IT equipment number will be quite a bit above what we appropriated. We did not have a IT consultant under contract when we prepared the budget, and when they came in and did an analysis of our environment, to use their terms, that's when you recall the recommended replacement of a number of the servers, which we have done. So that's not, we're not talking a large order of magnitude here, but we're just saying that's a line item that went over and we'll have to address it. But then as the board potentially, depending on how things unfold throughout the year, might be willing to go above what we had initially appropriated for property acquisition. So that's something we'll monitor. We'll take in an upcoming meeting, take a broader look at where things stand fund balance wise and what might be appropriate numbers to realign that appropriation number and handle a supplemental appropriation to address that.
Other observations?
Yeah, and actually what I just said, that was public works, that wasn't police department. Police department, about 45%. Again, there's just some timing of equipment that we budgeted for and it's spent. If you get back to capital projects, we budgeted about 3.96 million. We've only spent 270 yet. But we're transferring money in there to cover any future expenses. So all in all, right now, as of today, things are looking good. And then we'll just see how things shake out for the rest of the year. And then, you know, with the economy, when we get into next year, let's make sure they're, you know, tighten the belts maybe, and make sure we look at the way the revenue is going to come in. Right. So.
Anyone have any general questions?
It's a smaller number, but utilities, 84% that we just budgeted, you know, it doesn't look like there's much left, but
Where you at? What's the economy?
cut off, I'm like in 1-0-0-1-0-5-4-1.
Oh, yeah.
The middle. What was the department?
It's I can tell you it's 0-1-0-1-0-5-4-10.
You have to cut off on it.
So it was budgeted
It's
5,000 and
general.
right now there's 4,200 in there. So something we could look into, maybe something got put in there, shouldn't be in there. Or the budget was under, I'm guessing maybe there's something in there. Keep looking at that.
Thank you.
When we did go through this, we noted that there were some questions as to things that may have fallen into the wrong
So
account number as well as duplicates. So there are some errors here.
just for reference, I'll point out, and I don't think we've seen anything change that should account for a change from year to year. But looking backwards from 2017 through 21, that utilities actual numbers came in at 2,900, 3,600, 4,100. So it's usually hovers in that $3,000 to $4,000 range. So we will take a look at it. It's unlikely that we're off by,
Yeah.
it would double this year. There's nothing that's.
Only $700.
Yep.
So, any other questions?
I found what I was gonna comment on. We paid 2 quarters to the Winnebago County Finance Office for the 911 program.
Right.
Yep. That's largely because they don't invoice.
We begged.
And we've been begging them for invoices and they just want people to, I guess, just, you know, send them checks. And we're not the only one. Other communities have been asking them to please send invoices against which we will make payment. And they did finally. They finally sent us invoices and we made payment.
We have a new person in charge, Steve Schultz. So we will expect those.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe an increase for next year. 5%, is that what you heard?
The default, if nothing happens, We are reaching the end of the PSAP agreement, and there are some things to discuss still, but the default without a successor agreement is that there'll be a 6% increase for next year. And then subsequent 5% increases after that. I don't know why the 1% different, but unless we, as a coalition, negotiate a new agreement, it will proceed. That's 5%.
Any other comments regarding the year to date? Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do see Mr. Fenish is on, if you want to go back.
How about after we go through approving the minutes?
You bet.
Okay. Item 7.1. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Is there a second?
Second.
Anyone have any changes? Madam Clerk?
Simon,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Malcolms.
Yes.
Let's move back to presentation by Clark Environmental and Mosquito Management.
We have joining us tonight, Jack Fenish. Some trustees have had presentations from Jack in the past. Clark Environmental Mosquito Management. It's a company that does our, it's in the name, our mosquito management, mosquito abatement. They do it for many of the communities in the region, which Jack can get into. But we do have tonight on committee of the whole, we've been approving them year by year by year, but they did provide a 3-year agreement. Should we want to contemplate that, that held last year's fee rolling forward into this year, and then would have a CPI adjustment not to exceed 5% for the next 2 years moving forward. Because we have that on committee of the whole, which thought was a good time for Jack to introduce himself to the trustees.
Thank you for allowing me to present tonight via Zoom. It's much appreciated. I hope the board is doing well. I'm Jack Fenish with Clark. We've been in contracting mosquito control services since 1946. We're an Illinois-based company. Mosquito control is all we do. We are vertically integrated, manufacturing the products used, the machinery, as well as holding the EPA and registrations and patents on many of our products. And we're the world's largest mosquito control contractor, and we're located right here in Illinois. The program really is it follows the Centers for Disease Control guidelines on what is called the Integrated Pest Management Program, and we follow what's called the Environmental Mosquito Management Program. And to really understand the program, you have to understand a mosquito's life cycle. They go through 4 stages in their life cycle, which is a larval stage, to which is an egg stage, which is microscopic, to a larval stage, to a pupal stage, and that's their third life, and that goes from a caterpillar to a butterfly, much like and then to the adult stage, which is what everyone, 99% of the population would think of as an adult mosquito, as adult flying mosquito, as an adult mosquito. So our program focuses on larval control and adult control. The larval control consists of treating all the catch basins in the community. The manhole covers, if you will, was a big lesson learned from when West Nile first came here in 2001. Where are these Culex mosquitoes developing? And they're developing every 500 feet in the manhole covers throughout any community with curb and gutter. So those are treated with a slow release tablet. That product is an insecticide. It kills the insect, but it's not an insecticide as you would know of it as a petroleum-based product type of MSDS. It reacts with the pH balance in the mosquito's stomach lining, and it kills them in that larval stage. That is approved for drinking water in third world countries. It's a very benign product. And when we do get into periods of excessive annoyance or high volume, then we move into the adult control period. And the adult control is really what I think, again, the majority of the population would think of mosquito control as the truck spraying, but there really a lot's going on behind the scenes prior to that. In addition, we trap and test for the adult mosquitoes and sample them for the mosquito-borne diseases. We do have 6 positive samples right now in the neighboring Boone County, in Belvedere, Garden Prairie, and some other areas. Many of the northern, as you get east counties, DeKalb, Kane, McHenry, Lake, Cook, of course, and DuPage, Kane, Will. So I believe it's just a matter of time until we find it in Will County. We worked very closely with the Will County Health Department on that process of, it's actually a DNA test on the adult mosquitoes. Once they develop, once they are in that adult stage, the mosquito feed, their food is plant nectar. So the blood meal is actually, that's what the protein in the red blood fertilizes their eggs. So their food is actually plant nectar, and they're nocturnal. They feed at night, and the birds nest at night. And so many of their predators, what they're preying upon are the migratory birds. And that's where the virus, the St. Louis encephalitis, the West Nile virus, the dog heartworm come back, or they're reintroduced into the area every season. As it gets warmer and these migratory birds come back. So the birds are what we call the reservoir. The mosquito is just the vector, just the go-between. And it's like anything else in life. It's just, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you get bit by an infected mosquito. So again, we've done one nuisance treatment this year, and then another disease treatment since we have it in the very close community. As many of you know, we've had it for the last number since really its emergence here in West Nile in 2002. It's been kind of endemic here to northern Illinois. All the products are EPA registered. Again, the technicians are licensed. The village is named additionally insured. I have really opened it up to any other questions. The surrounding communities, McChesney, Loves, Cherry Valley, a few other, Pecatone, a few other communities in Will County, Duran, participate in the program as well. And that's very nice that we were able to do. We have a fleet of about 40 trucks, so we actually do a blanket coverage and do all those communities in conjunction with each other, which is a nice group of efficiency and efficacy. I'd really like to open it up to any questions from the floor.
Is there notification to the public when they're spraying, and how far in advance, and what's the means of communication?
Thank you. We do what we call a resident notification program list, and there's two ways we could do it. The resident just can either go to Clark Portal, PORTAL.com, clarkportal.com, register. We will physically call them, or we could text. If they have a cell number, we could text. They can choose that. We can also email them now too. That's new this year. We can send them an email. They can, again, Homeline can get a direct phone call. And that list is made permanent then. We'll, until they call to take their name off, we'll do that from year to year. So there's
Scott, I'll chime in that the village also issues a press release every time we do it. We put it out on, of course, Facebook. Nextdoor is our most powerful tool for reaching, and on the village website. We get strong responses or a high number of responses back from Nextdoor. There have been residents who ask, can we be omitted? We pass those addresses on to Clark, and they have those, the drivers who are doing the ultra low volume machines know those addresses. They're stored permanently, so they will stop the spray or the emission when they go past those homes. So because we often do them, Roscoe, McChesney Park, Loves Park, all on the same night. We always get we send a press release to the media, and the news will often do a story or just a blurb at 5, 6, and 10 the night before. But Mike, to answer your question, rarely know more than 48 hours in advance. These are usually data driven, so they're checking their Jersey light traps or their different traps they have, and data tells them when it's the right time to go and when it's the right combination of environmental conditions to do so. So it's not often we know more than about 48 to 72 hours in advance.
So when they spray the whole community, like so all that's done in one night.
Yes, correct. The entire public right away, correct.
And all of our parks.
We're very cognizant of the wind speed and temperature has to be correct. So that's another reason we can't really go out too many days in advance. That egg to adult, that 4 stages of their life cycle is the key ingredient for the perfect environment for any insect. What's known as 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 80% relative humidity. And they will go from egg to adult in 4 days in a constant 80, which early next week, we'll be here when we're hitting 95, 96 for our daytime highs. So it's a biological process, just like mowing the lawn. The more heat and humidity we get, the more rapid this life cycle is going to transpire.
We do 3 treatments a year, plus they do a supplemental one around Leland Park in advance of Fall Festival, which is coming up in a few weeks, Jack. I don't know. I don't know how that translates to some other communities. I think Cherry Valley, given their proximity to the river and low-lying areas, do a much higher number of treatments than that. But how does 3 slat compare?
That's really kind of the norm, just to balance it off. Cherry Valley with that Kishwaukee River Valley is extremely, low elevation, and that does flood. And again, the Rock River moves on. So they do about 10 to 12 a year, but they do, their Cherry Valley Fest. We do special events there as well. We do special events for the Rockford Park District as well, for the band shells and the Sinisippi Garden. So, and again, for Loves Parks festivals and McChesney Park as well.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you so much.
One question I have,
One more.
what other municipalities do you service?
We service about 200 to 300 throughout, really from in the northern tier of Illinois. There's quite a few communities that contract the mosquito control services. So there's really about 300 within northern Illinois. We have, again, we're vertically integrated. We make this equipment, and this is really done throughout the world, and we distribute that, throughout the Midwest as well. So many communities right, into Wisconsin as well have.
I think when Sue and I came and
heavy
visited,
equipment.
you were preparing a bunch of stuff to go to South America or something.
You
Jack.
were, and the Bill and Linda Gates Foundation was gonna be the
Right.
tab on it, on the.
Correct. And that's been through the World Health Organization too. There's quite a bit that's going to the Cayman Islands and Brazil now. So it's really an international production. And our key is that a lot of our R&D is we're really, again, we're the largest mosquito control contractor, but we're one of the only ones that manufactures the product, license it, and again holds the EPA registrations. But we also do the actual production. We actually do the mosquito control itself, where much of this is done through on a county level basis, what are called their separate taxing bodies called mosquito abatement districts, and they purchase the equipment and do this work themselves. And again, in the Midwest, so it's seasonal. It's ideal to have it contracted out.
Any others? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on then
Have a great
to
evening.
item number 9. 9.1. First, because some of these items require that we act quickly, I'm going to ask that someone make a motion for suspending the rules for item 9.1.
So moved. Second.
Patty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Roscoe,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R41, approving the plans and bid specifications, authorizing the solicitation of public bids for the construction of the parking lot at Porter Park for 6598 Windflower Lane.
So moved. Second.
Any questions?
How many stalls?
Parking stalls?
125.
125. Thank you.
There's some nice diagrams on that in docs,
I saw it.
and hopefully we can at least have it all prepped prior to the Halloween event. It doesn't get paid this year, as we discussed the committee of the whole next year, but at least everything would be in place. Anyone have any questions? There's calling for the vote, please.
Roscoe,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Again, would someone please make a motion to suspend the rules for item 9.2?
So moved.
Second.
Right,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Malcolm,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Petty.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R42, approving an agreement for the purchase by the Village of Roscoe of certain real properties commonly known as 5459 and 5473 and 5487 and 5501 Hodges Run, Roscoe. And within this, I'm not quite certain, Attorney Kalinkas, are you there? I have a
Yes,
question.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yep.
To make approval of this contingent upon inclusion.
I would say just contingent upon
Language in
the
the
seller's. Yep, sorry, I would say make this contingent upon the seller's environmental certifications.
So
Can you hear me?
the motion is to, yes, to approve
Oh.
the resolution contingent upon the seller providing the environmental information required.
Correct.
So moved.
Simon,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Quick,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I know you touched on, if I can address Scott, I know you touched on it a little bit about trying to figure out what we're doing with obviously spending above what we appropriated, because this is above it.
It could be a supplemental appropriation that we would pass. So we just shift funds to
Right.
cover. Is it, the original budget had $200,000 for land acquisition, and with the first purchase, we went over that. And with this, so we would just do a supplemental, and you just move from one pocket to another to cover the cost.
We have to vote on that, you think?
It will come up at the end of the year when we make adjustments in many different categories. We've been over in some other items as well. So we'll do
So
that.
essentially, we're taking money from the account and appropriating it, so.
It's all been appropriated, but it just didn't end up in the right basket. So at the end of the year, you do a supplemental to get it.
So it'll be a
Yeah,
President Gustafson, it'll be an appropriation transfer is what it will be.
To do this.
Right,
Essentially.
the transfers.
Joe, you want to repeat that, Joe?
I'll say this will be a appropriation transfer, which is what President Gustafson was stating, transferring between funds. If we are spending more than we've appropriated, or we're potentially going to spending more than we appropriated overall, then we'll do a supplemental appropriation. And we have done that in the past occasionally when we've had big expenses come up. But we would do that's the actual supplemental appropriation. So this would just be an appropriation transfer between different funds.
I'll meet with the treasurer in the coming weeks to get an accurate snapshot of what we feel fund balance is now and will be end of year. That's something we do during the budget time anyway, but we'll see if we can't get a sneak peek at where we think that stands. If you recall, we did revise our fund balance policy last year to based on 50%. We might even reduce the months as well. It used to be 6 months of all operating expenses. We eliminated capital improvements from that since they don't really reflect operating expenses, and perhaps we reduced it from 6 months to 3 or 4 to 4 as well. Yeah, so I can assure you right now, we have a fund balance well above policy. And we will have a fund balance above policy at year's end. So yeah, to Joe's point, later in the year, we'll know whether it needs to be a transfer ordinance or a supplemental appropriation, and that will be more the product of whether we're over totally across the board for all dollars appropriated, or if we just need to move that appropriation from one category to another. But we should have a discussion about where we want that number to go. How high we're comfortable with that number being.
We have a motion and a second for resolution 2023 R42 contingent upon the seller providing the environmental information requested.
Simon,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 9.3, again, will someone make a motion, please, to suspend the rules?
Second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simons,
Yes.
Plot,
Yes.
Betty.
Yes.
Item 9.3. Will someone make a motion to approve resolution R 2023 R 43 authorizing the submission of an OSLED grant application through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources for the expansion of Porter Park and the Porter Park Disc Golf Course and committing necessary local matching funds up to a not to exceed amount of $600,000.
Second.
Questions, explanation? Scott, will you share with people why we need to do this?
Yeah, I
at
will
this
tell you.
time?
Traditionally, OSLID grant applications are due end of October. When we had occasion to check and look and realize that this year they are due end of August. So the good news is we did an OSLID grant application for Porter Park last year. So a lot of it is just revising and updating all of the exhibits and planning documents and the inventory documents that we had to repair were time consuming last time can be reused, which is great. The scope will somewhat change. Last year, we had this parking lot in it. We have decided to self-fund the parking lot. But if everyone is aware, the Perryville Path Network, the bike path that extends from the south side of Rockford all the way up now to stops at Jolly Parkway, south of Swanson. It will be constructed, we brought it closer to Swanson even this year, but this county got ITEP funding last year to extend that all the way up to McDonald Road. So through the Swanson and Perryville roundabouts, up the Willowbrook Road right away, across that bridge that already exists in the woods to McDonald Road, which runs right by and is adjacent to our Porter Parkland. So we will become, for some period of time, the northern trailhead of that entire path system. And so we have the parking lot will be in place. This application will involve a new pedestrian bridge. There is a creek that winds through the woods, a pedestrian bridge, a connecting pathway, a restroom facility, and extension of necessary utilities to both serve our park and the users of our park, but also serve as an access point to the Perryville Path Network. So time was of the essence. I needed to get an authorizing resolution. This is our last regularly scheduled meeting, and I'll give everyone the finish. The documents are pretty boring when they're put together, but give everyone a printed copy of the application at the end of the month.
So if we get this grant, does it mean we have to match? Is it a matching?
It is absolutely. OSLID grants are 50-50.
That's what I thought.
So, and I'm asking you to right now approve this as up to $600,000 as we work to finalize the cost estimate of these items. Perhaps it is somewhat less because this will reflect a $1.2 million project.
Yeah.
You're committing $600,000 of village funds against $600,000 of IDNR funds.
And there are 2 years, right?
2 years, which is a tight window.
Any
That's
other
what we think it's
questions?
gonna be. We think it's gonna be, is that just an idea? Is that a?
That's a
That's a guess.
conservative, educated guess. And we have to provide detailed cost estimating with the grant application. We are preparing that now, so the number will be refined. It will not exceed this number.
So the different things we have in here are under whereas, do we have to do those certain things, or can we pick some things up totally different than what you have even written in?
For example,
So like, yeah, dog park, agility course.
Nope, we will,
So you could
we'll
turn
revise that.
around and turn it into a skate park or something like that, like, could you just do whatever?
you know, we are very lucky to have Joe is still sort of navigating his way back from a well-earned vacation here. So we will, he and I will, I don't, we'll need to tweak some of those. Let me call it up right now. Let's do this in real time. Because I don't think we'll identify a dog park specifically anymore.
Yeah, there's definitely not any.
I'll note, these are the same as we did last year. That's why those are on there,
Right.
matching up with last year's proposals. And I think it's right.
Are we committed to those certain things is what I'm asking.
If we identify them, then we are. Yes.
so
Because
therefore.
I know the more we have, the better opportunity we have for the grant too. It's just what other ideas do people maybe have? I know we had talked, you said about ball.
Universal.
Yeah.
Like, but the thing that did materialize that was unexpected was the bike path that's going to begin or end in our area, so that gives us the opportunity.
Well,
here
could
to-
we, I mean, put the bike path along McDonald Road in this too, you know? Because that, we already know that was a $700,000 project.
But what I meant was that the county's building of the path
Right.
would begin and end, and so now all of a sudden our area becomes much more attractive to a lot more
Right.
people.
But I'm getting at bringing, because obviously ours stops at the top of McDonald Road for our bike path, but bringing it down to this part, then now you're connecting their path
Right.
to all of ours. So
The
that might be
McDonald
something
Road
we can-
pathway will not be part of this application.
Right.
And likely, we'll present that in more detail, but likely we are gonna self-fund the McDonald Road pathway connection. That would be Rambouillet. That's where it ends now. It comes from Main Street to Rambouillet. We want to extend it down into this park and connect all this together. But if we accept federal assistance on that project, it brings in to play construction guidelines that make the project virtually impossible.
Right.
So likely we will tackle that as a
Let's wait.
the local capital improvement outside of grant assistance.
May I ask, as a new board member, what happened last year? I mean, you're just talking about like, you know, what the grant go through last year, or this is the old paper? I'm trying to get sort of the history as to, was the grant approved from last year?
It was not, it was an unsuccessful grant application.
Okay, so I didn't even know that. So that was an so all this stuff in here is sort of the framework from that original
Mhm.
proposal.
That's exactly right, Trustee Zimmerman. Yep.
Okay.
Did you not indicate that many times the first application is not successful?
That is correct.
And so we try and try again.
Gotcha. This one may not be, you don't know, right?
We're going to opt.
I'm the thing. Just-
Right.
It might not be, yeah.
I guess where I was going with it is, we've done the disc golf course holes.
No, so here's what,
Dog park's not gonna fit, so like we have to take things out, so is there?
let me do, I'll do it right now so you know what you're voting on. The village seeks to make recreational improvements to Porter Park, including hardscape infrastructure and other recreational amenities, including the development of open land adjacent to the existing Porter Park. Project components include, but are not limited to, we will strike dog park and agility course. We will start with construction and we will strike parking lot, because that's gonna be done. We'll say new water main and surface extensions, new sanitary sewer connections, additional disc golf holes, because we will. Once we get the pedestrian bridge in, we could do another 3 or 4 on the other side of the creek. Tree clearing, curb establishment, landscaping, pedestrian paths, fitness station, volleyball courts. We're gonna add to this a pedestrian bridge and a restroom facility. So basically, we are striking dog park and agility course, adding in restroom facility. Is that going to?
Sewer, water,
That all stays.
pedestrian bridge.
Mhm. Pedestrian bridge and restroom facilities.
Would there be any way to do an open air pavilion connected to the restroom facility like Leland?
There's always a way.
Anybody interested in that? Just putting in an addition, I know the more you have, the better opportunity. So,
But and you said it was an open air.
yeah, it'd be like Leland has an open air pavilion with restrooms connected to it, it's a shelter.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Something like that,
I'm
or
sorry.
something like the town.
I heard
as well.
amphitheater when you said pavilion. and
No.
I'm sorry, that's why.
Open air pavilion.
Don't take my reaction to glib. I didn't mean that. Absolutely, yes, it could be a restroom with the picnic shelter attached to it, yes. Mind you,
I'm just trying to make it more.
for this year's program, $600,000 is the maximum OSLAD contribution. We could, that's the most they'll put in. We could do a $1.4 million project. It would just mean that they would pay $600,000, we pay $800,000. So we tack more onto it.
I'm just trying to make it more attractive to them, because you did
Multiple
explain
components.
that the more components you have, the more attractive it is to.
I think one thing that's gonna make cautiously optimistic, I'm a realist about these, there's no guarantees, and there's lots of people applying for it. And OSLAD is a program that does now take into consideration disadvantaged communities, and I know people struggle to hit some of those benchmarks. That's a good problem to have, but sometimes it puts us at a competitive disadvantage on some of the grants. Connectivity, demonstrating connectivity is a big plus in these applications. And I think that our application strength has been raised significantly by the award of the continuation of the Trail Path. I'm more optimistic than I was last year. We also have demonstrated that we have skin in the game, that we've already spent some of our own money on it. That usually is well received.
Right, going back then to review. There will be the inclusion of shelter or whatever language encompasses an open air shelter, correct?
Correct. So this,
And
again,
striking construction of a parking lot and the dog park, the
Correct.
utility course.
adding bridge
Mhm.
and restroom facility / picnic shelter. Picnic shelter is a very good vague term that can be a lot of different things.
Gazebo.
Gazebo, yes, but
You've seen the gazebos. Ballman Park, I'm sure you have.
Those are
So
nice. Those are my
cute.
wife's been down there with the kids, but I haven't been. Those are real nice.
We are
Does it have to
probably
be that
quickly-
specific? To say exactly what it is that one's going to build?
absolutely not. That's why I like saying picnic shelter is a
Okay, so it could be whatever.
vague term that opens up to lots of different structures.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2023 R43?
So moved.
Yeah.
We already had it. Okay.
Okay,
So calling
Do
for
we
the
need
vote.
to amend it with that or no?
With the picnic shelter,
Well, with all the changes he made, do we need to amend this?
Joe, are you there?
I think you just make that as part of your motion. That's already part of the motion you just made. So I think you're fine with what the record currently
Referencing
was
the
that
scope.
Scott went through.
All right.
thank you for pointing that out. And also, Joe, thank you for getting this together on such short notice. When he left, he did not know this was going to be on the agenda.
Okay. Simon,
Yes.
Eddie,
yes,
Malaco,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Last. May I have a motion to suspend the rules for resolution 23 R44?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 2023 R44, authorizing entering into an agreement with Quad Electrical Services for electrical upgrades at Leland Park, the quoted amount of $6,200.
do you want me to call roll call for that?
Oh, yes, please, thank you.
Wright?
Yeah.
Simon?
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Block,
Yeah.
Eddie.
Yes, okay, ditto what I just said.
Okay,
So moved.
thank you.
Second.
And Mr. Taylor, would you take a few minutes to explain how this came about?
Sure, these are there's 3 panels on the south end of the pavilion at Leland Park, and these are used mainly for the fall festival. And I'm not sure how old they are, but I know 5 years ago, one of them, the fuse in there blew. It's not replaceable. They couldn't find it 5 years ago, and they said like $900 at the time. So that one's only been using like half the bank, the 100 amps. The other one, the fuse is blown a couple times, and once these big fuses blow, they get really weak. So then that pops during the fall festival, which is not a good thing for whatever it's hooked up to. So this is for replacing those 3 panels. And those 3 panels go to our 3 panels out into the field. There's one on the new pole that they just replaced. There's one on the scoreboard, and then one kind of over on the corner by the flagpole over there. And those then run off. There's like 10 or different, you can run 10 cords from this one, 10 cords from this one for all like the vendors at the food truck. And yeah, so these will be the new updated 200 amp for those, and we won't have electrical problem.
And it made the organizers of the fall festival very happy
Yes.
to hear that this was in place and that we have someone who can turn around and do it quickly in time for the festival.
I
So
do have a question.
Shoot.
For Troy, I know when we originally talked about doing the electrical upgrades, I asked to maybe include a light at the playground. Is that being done with this or no?
No, not in this section. No.
Might have to look at that later.
We have a motion and a second.
Simon,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Flock.
Yes.
Item 10, old business, to address what you just brought up. Your lighting was in the other day, and
Who was fair?
Thayer.
Okay.
Thayer lighting. And they're going to come back and do a full assessment of our lighting and also our recreational facility lighting. So that can be something addressed at that time. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Also under old business, I would like our engineer, Mr. Boggs, to address where we are right now with our residential street program.
Absolutely. So currently, I'll explain this. We essentially have two different projects going on, as you guys know. We have the downtown project and then the Safelwood subdivision project. So currently the contractor is planning on paving the Safelwood subdivision portion of the project Thursday and Friday of this week. So that will get covered up. After that, there's going to be some small improvements, aggregate shoulder installation, but following that, that Safelwood subdivision portion of the project will be completed. And then the downtown area, there's still some minor concrete work that needs to be completed, a couple different concrete radiuses, and then some sidewalk approaches that need to be poured, as well as driveway approaches that need to be poured. After that, the current schedule to pave is early next week. I haven't got a hard date from the contractor. I'm pushing them to get me that date, but they're not sure yet. They're also paving out at the Rockford Airport, so that kind of messes with their schedule. So I do have an email and calls into them to get that scheduled, but tentatively early next week. Following that, in the downtown project, there will be aggregate shoulder installation as well, and then also pavement striping. So that shouldn't be more than, honestly, a couple of weeks until we're completely closed out with that project. So things are going very well.
Thank you.
Playing off of that, Scott, I reached out to you about a few people that had reached out to me in Sagewood. So could you just touch on what we talked about so the rest of the board knows?
I will, and I'll pass it over to Brandon. Couple residents have reached out, Trustee Black and maybe others, curious, why is it Applegate?
Applegate.
Why we were stopping Applegate where we are, why we weren't taking Applegate improvements all the way to Belvedere Road, and Brandon can answer why we're not.
So currently our municipal boundaries end. So that's the reason for why we stopped that project there. It's actually it looks to be one residential lot north of Greystone. So once we hit that border, we're no longer we do not have jurisdiction over that roadway. I do know that prior during the design stage, I think, of this project, maybe shortly after bidding, Scott had reached out to the township, trying to have discussions about would they like to commit funding for us to just complete that and then pay us back. I think the general feel was that they did not have the funds to be able to do that. So I don't think we ever got an official written response, but
it's also not the
timing was.
Yeah, but we'll just say that they declined.
We had other priorities.
Yeah, also different methodology. Is that portion of a chip seal?
That is, yeah.
So it's even a different road construction, it's a different type of road. When they perform maintenance projects, they do it in a different manner.
Takes a lot of coordination to get that done.
Dovetail in cleanly. It's too bad because
So how many parcels are there? In that? That's the township. Quite a bit.
Yeah, about 5. So
Well, sometimes it's lucky that.
yep, that's where our boundaries are. So
I just wanted everybody else to be aware if anybody else gets any question.
Yeah, I'm glad that.
At least on record now too.
all right, guys, I'll cast it up there so you see exactly what we're talking about. So we are, Applegate here, we're the greenish color. So we come up north of Greystone to the back end of those properties. That's our village limit. Everything north of that is unincorporated Winnebago County. And the remainder of Applegate, as it goes up to Belvedere, is under township jurisdiction. And that's the story of Roscoe all over the place.
Yes, here we go again, yeah, just.
Anything else under old business?
I got two things. I'd like to maybe have us look at appropriate, because I know we have extra money from the roads and stuff like that too, which maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but maybe look at doing a portion of the bike paths along McDonald's Road, at least doing the design this year. And or the extra roadway projects, how we usually have our primary and then our secondary. At least getting that design moving forward so we can be paving early in the year.
Well, if you recall, we are under contract with Fairground to design the 2024 RSP this year.
Right, the main portion of it,
The main
not
portion.
our like secondary, like if we have extra money. here's
You're right about
another
that.
Side project we can do. So I'm speaking of the side, the addition.
And was there a second?
Oh, those were both on the bike
okay.
paths. Yeah,
I thought you had another one.
no, the bike paths and then, because I know we had talked about doing the bike path and maybe like a 2-year phase, because it was roughly $700,000 at that time. It's probably more now. So doing it over 2 years, that way it's 50-50. And then again, if we want to do any extra roads next year, having that design progress now would be best, so we can pave in the spring, early summer.
Well, I'm in favor of the roads. Road design.
Just could you have something maybe at the next committee? At least showing everyone what our extra roadway projects were and make sure.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'll have to go back and revisit.
Yeah, make sure all the new board members have a copy of all that stuff.
Additional roads, residential roads go
Mhm.
for design now, okay?
And then could you also maybe just give us a ballpark figure on what the bike path might be at this point?
Yeah, I'm looking for right now, trustee Block, I think I did some somewhat detailed analysis of what I thought, just extrapolating out some of the costs, but when I do find it, I'll share it with everyone.
Again, that was just for the plans, not trying to do more this year. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Item 11, public comment. No other public comment. Number 12, no need for executive session. 13, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting adjourned. Want to go right to committee of the whole? or we-
Yeah, if you don't mind, it's gonna be real fast because our main item is that. We good? Joe, do you want to stop? We stop and start recordings for